Touching a customer's deck isn't something I do often, but when it does happen, the outcome is usually painful. Because even though Valve made this the most repairable handheld, it shares the same flaw as the others. Everything except the SSD is soldered, which means if one of these 69 components goes bad, you're fucked. Unless you know a micro-soldering masochist that enjoys huffing lead fumes while swearing profusely, which my customer may need depending on what's wrong with theirs. Because this crusty boy will artifact, shut down randomly, and occasionally refuse to display an image, which are all signs of a failing component. But we won't know for sure until we grab these love handles and see for ourselves.
The first thing we need to do in this troubleshooting process is clean this thing, because I am not touching this thing. It's quite filthy. The screen has been greased on a few times.
Yes, not just greased on. It's been sneezed on a couple of times as well.
For sure sneezed. We're both talking about the same type of sneeze, right? A sneeze. Now, there's one thing I want to start. I know you guys can hear this.
Is it sticky? Oh, Lord.
Ugh. Something happened with this one. I think something sticky got in there. Probably,
Lupe.
Probably Johnson sneeze got in here. And you can see it's pretty gross in there. I don't think that's causing the problems. However, if that is liquid damage, then it would make sense that something happened where it got wet. And you know what happens with liquid damage? Random things. So that's an indicator. I'm gonna start by spraying it with our 70% ISO, just to disinfect any sort of STDs that could be on this thing. Is there like a...
There's a film on it.
Yeah, is there a film on this thing? I have the regular LCD Steam Deck. There's definitely a film on theirs. Now, is that film nasty? Or did the Steam Deck come with anti-glare LCD? So it looks like it's an anti-glare. It's definitely not coming off. Small scratch on there, but otherwise, it's all right. Not in the worst condition. It's okay. Yep. So, we've cleaned it. Good for us. Let's start this thing up, and I need to recreate the issue first. So I'm gonna plug it into our desktop. Shout out to Ugreen for their little Thunderbolt adapter here. Like I said in the intro, this freezes after like 5 minutes or so now. That's gonna make it difficult because I wanna access the logs. I wanna test the SSD and the RAM to make sure everything's okay. I'm leaning towards a motherboard issue, only because from what he said, it happens more often when the Wi-Fi is enabled. That's where I'm heading. Hopefully not though, but it will tell me in desktop mode, and I'm definitely not gonna rip out my ThinkPad and look at these commands that I absolutely know by heart, because I'm a Linux pro. So we're gonna slap the Steam menu right meow, and we're gonna go to power, and we're going to go to switch to desktop. This is gonna put us in the desktop mode, which is basically Linux. It's a full Linux install, which is awesome. And inside here, we are going to go to Info Center and Devices. Ah, crap, it's acting like a secondary screen. Okay, let me just configure the displays. This, I want to be the main screen.
Looks like it died there.
Yeah, did it die, or did I clicked that and then it's trying to default to that, but that's not taking it for some reason. It died. So as soon as I tried to switch displays, it croaked. Yep, it turned off completely. Now, he said it would hard reboot. It's not rebooting, the light's off. It completely died. Press the power button, nothing. Power button's not responding. Press and hold the power button. We have no light at all.
And this was charging for hours.
Yeah, okay, here we go. I guess we don't have a light unless you charge it, but it's been charging for hours. And it was actively charging when we had it plugged in. Even said the battery was at like a lot. So we've been stuck here for about 5 minutes now. Clearly there is an issue. Now, the fact that it completely turned off as soon as I tried to send an image to the desktop display leads me to believe that it unfortunately is a motherboard issue. Just right off the bat, it was requesting a lot of power through the GPU. And remember, this has an APU, which means they all share the same RAM and it's all soldered, which is not good. So if there's an issue with it, there's an issue with everything. Now this is no bueno, because I can't even run tests on this thing now, right? Fan's on. It's definitely charging. The only thing left for me to do right now, take that NVMe out, do a smart test on it, but it's not the NVMe. A bad NVMe wouldn't cause this issue right here. It wouldn't cause a hard shutdown with no power, and then this right here. So that's what we're gonna do. And then I'm gonna have to visually inspect the CPU and see what the hell, if I see anything obviously bad. But if it's a motherboard issue, unfortunately, I'm not equipped to fix that.
Squarespace, today's video sponsor. Squarespace provides a massive toolkit and high-end templates that pair with any vibe your heart desires. Even if you have no idea what you're doing, Squarespace Blueprint, their new step-by-step design experience, lets you mix and match professional layouts to build a custom, one-of-a-kind site that stays brand loyal and looks great on every screen. Their built-in SEO tools help you get discovered quick, so you can grow your following without breaking a sweat. They also make selling a breeze by offering flexible payment options like Apple Pay, PayPal, and credit cards, plus buy now, pay later through Afterpay and ClearPay in supported regions. Check out squarespace.com/SalemTechsperts and use the code in the description to get 10% off your first website or domain. Huge thanks to Squarespace for bringing all of our wildest passion projects to life.
All right, so after it shut down, I wanted to see if it booted into BIOS, and it did. So I tried resetting the APU. You hold like volume down and the 3 dots right here, and it's supposed to reset the drivers for the APU. I don't know if it worked because nothing happened. It beeped a few times. I don't know if it was the right beeps, but whatever. After I did that, I went into BIOS. We're here in BIOS, but look, 2024-1-1, so the date's wrong. So did I reset the CMOS? Is there even a CMOS in this thing? I'm really not too sure on this. But what I wanted to do was make sure that this guy didn't mess with anything in the BIOS, like he was overclocking or something, because he did say he modded Baldur's Gate 3, which is nothing. But you never know, you know, the customer, sometimes they even forget to tell you, oh yeah, by the way, I overclocked the CPU to like 8,000, megawatts, and it's on fire. What I did though is disable quick boot and disable quiet boot. So hopefully while it's running these tests, it'll actually tell me like where it's getting stuck on. If it still doesn't boot, I'm going to boot into an external Linux USB, because the fact that it is running right now tells me that it at least has some capability still, though. Even in the BIOS, you're not using the GPU to its full potential, so maybe when it's booting up, it's trying to access a certain component that is not functioning properly, and that's when it crashes. I'm gonna save and exit, and let's see what happens here. We're gonna A to select, and we are going to exit saving changes. Yes, that fan is fanning right now. 100% of the memory tested is okay, so everything's testing okay. Well, the RAM at least tested okay, but we still don't know if the components that control access to the RAM is okay. So when there's like a power spike or something, if it's bugging out when that happens. So this is where it gets stuck on the regular Steam logo right here. But since I have quiet boot off, it's not showing us the Steam logo, it's just showing us the test. So it's getting stuck right after it tests the memory, which sucks because I don't know what other tests it actually is making. However, I have my own Steam Deck. So why don't I boot into BIOS on this Steam Deck? So power button and the plus, the volume plus, should take me to BIOS. Okay, cool, so we're in BIOS, my date is correct. Let's go into setup, and we're gonna turn off quiet boot. And I'm going to save and exit. So let's get out of here, save and exit, where are you? Right there, save and exit, yes. So now we can see where it's getting stuck. It tests the memory, and it's normal to get stuck here a little bit, but where's the holdup happening? Okay, so I'm pressing and nothing's happening, but when I pressed here, something happened. So it's not initializing. The RAM says it's okay, but it's not initializing the actual file system. Now, something I was wondering, I was curious if I could just swap NVMe drives, like swap this into there, if it'll actually work, but I'm not trying to cook anything. So obviously it's getting stuck when it's trying to load the NVMe, or it's trying to initialize the GPU. I don't know, man. I don't know anything about the Steam Deck. And I told this guy, listen, this guy doesn't think I'm some Steam Deck connoisseur. He knows that this is the second Steam Deck I've ever worked on in my entire life, and I barely use that one. So what I am good at is taking apart. So let's take this thing apart. I'm gonna take the NVMe out, and I'm gonna see if the NVMe is good, and I'm going to reinstall the OS just for giggles, because the guy said, listen, I don't care if you need to wipe the thing, just wipe it. I can't use it anyways. And that's what I'm gonna do. So that's the next step right here, since I can't do any friggin' tests, and it says the memory's okay. So let's unscrew this baby. Now, the beauty of Linux, Lupe, is you can just plop a drive into another computer, and it'll just work. It'll find a way to work, as long as the hardware in that computer is okay. These are little computers. So, this is my Steam Deck. My Steam Deck works. My NVMe works. I know this works. So I'm going to take my NVMe, that works completely fine, and I'm gonna put it into this guy's. Now, if there's an issue booting, if there's any sort of issue, it indicates there's a problem with a soldered component. That's not good. That'll tell me right away, am I gonna have to tell this guy to send it to somebody, a micro-soldering specialist, or do you just need an NVMe? We don't actually have any NVMEs that size here, but let's hope he doesn't need an NVMe, but let's hope he doesn't need micro-soldering. Either way, the guy's kind of, you know what I mean? He's gonna be spending a lot of money.
Yes.
All right, I just did this the other day. No SD card, so I don't have to worry about an SD card. And I think I started right here. These were all the gooch crumbs were, if I remember correctly, in my last Steam Deck video. Yes, probably from the side, and I think from here it just actually unclips, right? There it is. Ah, NVMe is located under here. I remember that much. We're gonna disconnect the battery, Lupe. Oh, we can't do it yet. Okay, that's right.
Yes.
What was it? A few screws here. A little shaka, shaka, shaka. Comes up. That's our NVMe. But right now we want to disconnect the battery because we don't want to fry anything. Because then we'd be making a video of fixing my Steam Deck, which would require micro-soldering, and I'd have to send it out to somebody. And here we are. Rest in peace, Crucial. My 1 terabyte drive. This thing's probably worth more than both of these Steam Decks combined by the time this video comes out. We live in a society.
We're honor to distant memory.
All right, now let's try this, guys. Now that I'm well versed in how to take a Steam Deck apart, he's never opened it up. He got it brand new. This is a 512 gigabyte version. His thingamajiggy is a little different than mine. All right. Ta-da! How dirty we looking? Actually, not too bad at all, man. That's not too bad at all. Now, do we see any liquid damage? I doubt we'd even be able to see it from here. I don't see anything. I see the markers. That's where they do it from the factory. I don't see anything crazy. Now I'm curious, did this model, the 512 gigabyte model, come out after my model? I don't even know what my model is. I think this had 256 gigabytes. But were there like different revisions? The fan's also different. We use the same BIOS and everything. Interesting. Only 2 screws securing this one? Unless there's a screw underneath here. Yep, that's what that arrow's pointing to. That's reminding you, hey bud, you have another screw. So the Steam Deck definitely has not been operated on, because this is a sure tell. This guy, if that's folded back, it means it was operated on. This one's not. So now we should pop right up. There we go. And I'm curious just to compare the two. The motherboard layout is different too. Look at this. That's different. So I wonder what that's about. The entire thing is actually different, dude. Look at the layout. The VRAM chips, or the RAM, I guess, because it's not just VRAM, but this entire thing is different. These are obviously 2 different models. So I just discovered something. This is the original Steam Deck design. You notice how the Wi-Fi cables are leading directly underneath the SSD? That's because the Wi-Fi chip is underneath the SSD. There was a mid-something refresh where they changed a few designs. They changed the fan because this one was noisy. They switched over to a different fan. They changed the arrangements of the RAM chips for whatever reason, and they changed the heatsink design. But the one thing they changed that I think is most relevant to this video is the location of that Wi-Fi chip. Because remember, in that guy's original message, he said, when I turned the Wi-Fi off, I had way more stability, and then eventually it didn't make a difference anymore. But that indicates there was something up with the Wi-Fi, maybe not the chip itself, but a component near the chip. Because apparently the Wi-Fi chip is like really close to the components that control the APU and the SSD. So we're still gonna go with swapping my NVMe into here, but for somebody who doesn't know anything, we're getting closer to a possible issue, which is always a good thing, because I didn't know that. This video is less about like, hey, this is how you do it, and more about, hey, I don't know shit, and this is how I troubleshoot things that I've never worked on before, or issues that I've never even encountered before. I don't know anything about the Steam Deck. I own one, I replaced the NVMe, which anybody can do, but I've never had to troubleshoot any sort of issue. Would I ever take this job on as a paid customer? No, I would never do this job as a paid customer. What I would do is buy a Steam Deck that's broken on eBay, or wait for somebody to give me one, and then I'd troubleshoot it and learn all the ins and outs, and I would have learned about the mid-range refresh and all that stuff. So that's also a tip to you guys. Don't use customers as guinea pigs, okay? This guy, I'm doing all this for free, obviously, and he said, listen, this thing's free, so I can't make it, there's no way I can make it worse. I can at least give him some sort of diagnostic. If it's a motherboard problem, I can say, hey, go to this guy. Or I can say, hey, you just need an NVMe and we gave you one for free because I'm making money off this video. Let's hope that's gonna be the thing. I'm just gonna take a peek under here to see if we have any visible issues with the Wi-Fi or the components near the Wi-Fi. And obviously I don't see anything. There's nothing here that's noticeable. The interference from the Wi-Fi chip and from the SSD to the Wi-Fi chip caused issues, clearly, which is why they changed the design. So we're gonna take our NVMe, we're gonna keep the shield intact because I feel like especially with this bad boy, you need that shield. Because if it is an interference problem, then this is why. Put my SSD in there, and I could technically do the opposite. I can put this guy's NVMe in mine, but it'd be a waste of time because If mine doesn't work on here, it means there's an issue, a component level issue, which unfortunately I do think that's what it is right now. Right, meow. Our heatsink is on. We are going to plug it in. We have fan spin, and then it turns off. I think that's just what happens when you plug in a Steam Deck. And we're gonna press and hold it. Honestly, don't even know how long you're supposed to press and hold it, but doesn't Lupe look beautiful today? It's rebooting itself. Okay, here we are. We're good. It's shutting down. When it's trying to initiate the NVMe, it's shutting down. It's boot looping. So it's obviously not the NVMe. Ah, hold on, hold up. Current SteamOS. Oh, his SteamOS isn't updated. I see. I see. Okay, hold on. Ah, all right. He has an old version of SteamOS, so it won't boot from this old version. Maybe we can go previous SteamOS? Yeah, that's something I didn't even consider, is that if it is a different version of SteamOS, it won't be able to boot, even though Linux itself can boot no matter where. We're in. I mean, we got a boot. We definitely got further than we did with that thing. Let's check out this NVMe. Let's check this thing out. Before I start playing games on this thing, let's check this NVMe. If this NVMe comes up as bad, like the smart status comes up as bad, then we know right away this thing's cooked, and it's not a component level issue, it's just the NVMe, which would be awesome for this guy. Let's plop it into my Steam Deck. But we're not gonna boot into it. We're gonna boot into Linux via USB. And then we're gonna run the smart test within that portable version of Linux. Okay, we're in my Steam Deck and we're gonna go to Boot Manager, and we are going to boot into USB device because we have our Linux Mint in our little NVMe adapter up there. And then from within here, we should be able to run the command to check the smart status of this bad boy. And it's Windows 11. It was working, and now it is not. So my NVMe and his Steam Deck, and we're stuck on the same exact spot. And we only noticed it because it was we heard the fan whirring and we looked, the screen was off. There was a backlight, screen was off, but it's stuck again. So I had to actually manually power it off and then turn it back on, and it's completely stuck. So, ain't looking good for old pal here. Whoo! This has been a rough one. This is my Steam Deck with my SSD inside of it. We are booted into desktop mode in SteamOS. We have his SSD connected through an NVMe adapter, and we are in the smart status section of SteamOS. It's like Info Center or something like that, whatever. Both smart statuses are good. This drive is good. Our drive is good. Both drives freeze inside of our buddies right here.
Gunther's.
Now, is Gunther's BIOS bad? The likelihood, no. The fact that it dies when it gets hot, that's a indicator that there is a problem with a component, whether it be a VRAM chip, Wi-Fi, something's going on. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Valve did a mid-range refresh because they were like, maybe we shouldn't have put the Wi-Fi card directly underneath the SSD. It sucks. This sucks. So this is me asking all of you guys, do you want to work on this? If you do component repair, do you want to work on this? Because I'll just give your information to this guy. Because clearly this is over I've done everything I can do. I've tested, the SSD. I've tested the OS, it boots. I've done the basic troubleshooting, but now this involves component repair. And it also begs the question of, is it gonna be worth it for him? Because how much is someone going to charge to repair this if they even can repair it? That's the other thing. And this is kind of the thing that sucks about having a handheld. It's great, but if anything goes wrong besides the NVMe, you're f***ed, pretty much. The Steam Deck has like incredible repairability. You can buy parts directly from Valve. They're pretty cheap. They have, it's very easy to take apart. It's very modular. However, I mean, unfortunately, because of the APU, the RAM is soldered, CPU is soldered, GPU is soldered, Wi-Fi chip is soldered. Now that's one where, did it really have to be soldered? That's engineering, I'll leave you guys to discuss that. But yeah, this guy's toast. He's f***ed. It sucks.
5 minutes later.
Well, we tried reflashing SteamOS because I said, well, you know what? Maybe it's a BIOS issue. Maybe I can just completely reflash it, including the BIOS. Again, the guy said he didn't care about his data. And here we are. We've been in this boot loop for about 20 minutes. So it will not go past this. This is with SteamOS being installed from an NVMe. I made sure SteamOS, the install was good because I tested it on my machine and, works on my machine. Trademark. So yeah, this thing is completely f***ed. The BIOS will not flash, the firmware won't write, all this crazy nonsense stuff is telling me that there's a component bad. I just don't know what component it is, but something's bad in this thing. So yeah, this thing's cooked. Unfortunately, this thing is cooked. Unless one of you guys in America wants to send your information to my customer, make a video on this or work on this or do whatever. I don't care what you do with it. I just want to help my customer out. So what an exciting video this was. This sucks, man. This is actually one of the reasons I closed the repair shop in general, because we were seeing more problems like this than anything else. Problems that required micro-soldering and access to schematics that didn't exist. Now, the Steam Deck, they don't have official schematics. Valve is very pro right to repair, but they still don't have schematics out. So even if I was, you know, smart enough to take this thing apart and test voltages and stuff, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where to test or what to test. There are people that make their entire careers off of doing micro-soldering for devices that no one else can work on. And that's the career that you should get into. If you actually want to do this for a living, become a micro-solderer, dude, because you will always be in demand. You will face different struggles than what I face. I can't find parts for anything. They can't find schematics for anything. All the devices now require micro-soldering, everything, especially now that APUs are more common and RAM, shared RAM, and GPUs are more common, everything's soldered to the board. You're going to see that more often, failures like this. And I was seeing it more often when I had the repair shop. And now I don't, because I don't deal with shit like this anymore. I personally don't find this stuff interesting, and micro-soldering does not interest me whatsoever. But that's where the industry is going, that's where we're at right now. I saw that, and I don't like it. You can even feel it when you're working on a customer's device. You notice how there hasn't been any like banter back and forth? It's because this is serious. Like, I wanna f around to a certain extent, making jokes and stuff, but also at the end of the day, I wanna fix this dude's shit. But the difference in the video is also the difference in real life, where I'm way happier when I'm not working on a customer's stuff. When I have no expectations that I need to meet. It's stressful, but when I'm just taking a computer that's, you know, 25 years old and I'm throwing it onto this table and plugging stuff into it, I don't care because the stakes are low. I don't care what happens to it. And that reflects just in general with the industry, when you're doing it as a hobby versus when you're doing it as a business. And even though I'm not charging this guy, I still have pride in trying to fix it for him. Even though he had no hope, he knew this thing was cooked from the jump. He knew it was a motherboard issue because he did try reinstalling the OS and stuff. But I mean, until then, yeah, let me know. Hit me in the comments, all that good stuff, blah, blah, blah. And don't worry, next video is gonna be way more fun than this. This one's very technical. This one showed you, if you do have a problem with the Steam Deck, how to fix it yourself, if possible. But this one's not possible, so thank you, Lupe.
Check me out, Lupe G1.